That's too bad. I really thought we were going to get all 5 of us.
Yeah, me too. I was
Yeah,
like,
let's
all right.
leave open for that.
But no. All 5 of you had better be here next week. We're doing, we're interviewing Clint, the lead guy of the Vanden Arms, who does the Over There song. And
What's the Over There song?
They also have other music. They have an album called the Sent Off EP. Anyway, they're big national.
Here, why don't you flip the switch and we can talk about what's coming up next week? Oh, you did already.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Because coming up next week, yeah.
Right.
Anyway, a band that I don't know anything about, singing about things that I barely know anything about. That'll be good.
I'm going to throw something in here while we're at it.
Dennis, I especially want you there next week because there's one line in one of their songs that's hilarious. For you.
You got to tell me now. I can't. I can't not know now.
Okay, so it's a really short song called Who Do You Like? It's either Who Do You Think You Are or Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? Basically ragging on a random rival soccer team. So like if they were Red Bulls fans, they'd be ragging on DC United. Anyway, the point is, one of the lines is, it's to talk about how shitty they are. It's a Canadian could make your club.
That's pretty good. That's good. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm glad they agreed to come on. It'll be fun. But that's not this week, though. Alright, are we ready?
Yes.
Pete, are you ready to guest host today?
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah, I think I can pull that off. All right, so that means that I'm going to introduce myself first, and then I see it as Dennis, Ian, Josh.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. All right, welcome back to another Slash MLS podcast. I am Pete, username PunkRockPete, filling in for Chris tonight.
Hi, my name is Dennis, username Denmar.
I'm Ian, username Armascaru.
And I am Josh, username 97227ist.
All right, and welcome back, Josh, from
Why, thank you. Thank
Turkey,
you.
and not Kyrgyzstan, as I was told was very racist last week.
Yeah, no, I went and visited both Serbia and Turkey, the land of absolute, like, soccer. It was funny. I had a really interesting conversation with some guys there in Turkey, and I was asking them about their local league, and they were like, you know, like, it's really boring. You know what 2 teams are going to win every year because they've won. One of them has won every year since the 1950s with, like, 2 exceptions. And he was talking about how much he liked American sports leagues. Any team potentially could win any year. And they watch a lot of NBA, but I was like, actually, it's the same in our soccer league too. And they were like that. The idea that any team could win at any given time just seemed absolutely baffling to them. They're like, what is it? What is the secret? What is the trick? And I was like, well, it's not quite as good of a league, so there's that. But it also comes down to the salary cap. And we actually had a really interesting discussion. Most of the people that I talked to over there are pretty jaded with the money situation. In Turkey, it's Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, and then all the other teams are basically there for them to just, you know, run up crazy scores on. So it was interesting to talk to some people in Europe about their leagues and just hear the exhaustion with the kind of, you know, dominance of 1 or 2 teams in every league, that they have so much over there that people are really burned out on it.
So I have a Turkish friend who's a big Galatasaray fan, and he never talks about this. I wonder.
I don't know. He's probably just, you know.
He probably just
loves it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm gonna go watch my team stomp on some team from Eastern 5-0. Like, sounds fun.
And to be fair, you sent us like an email in the middle of your sojourn about how it was cool that certain teams won all the time, or something.
I was also really drunk when I wrote that. So. And yeah, I was drunk and I was watching the highlights of the Seattle-Portland game. Yeah, I don't really know exactly what was running through my head, but I'm sure it was something that I was intending for it to be a lot funnier than it wound up being.
I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
So it was successful? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I looked at it the next morning and I was like, I mostly remember doing it.
Well, at least we know when you get drunk, you drunk text us instead of other people.
Well, I was already there with my girlfriend, so who else am I going to drunk text?
Well, good news for you is that we don't have to cover the Portland and Seattle game, as we took care of that last week. But we could talk about Portland Chivas if you like.
Oh man, I think Portland Chivas is on the scale of things much more depressing than Portland Seattle. Did anybody else catch that game there or see the highlights from it at all?
I saw.
Will Johnson's freakout was interesting.
Yeah, Will Johnson's freak out. Will Johnson seems to have the thing that there was a guy named Frank Songo who was playing at the beginning of 2012, who everybody loved because he seemed to be the only person who really cared. And Will Johnson's kind of like, it's nowhere near as bad as 2012, but Will Johnson is definitely like the one person who's fired up and really unhappy with the way the team's performing. And everybody else seems to be kind of like, I don't know, whatever, it's okay. So yeah, it's puzzling. It's there's some personnel issues and there's some tactical issues that I could go into.
Set pieces, man. Set pieces are just
not the for the Timbers. This year it's been just more defensive collapses, and particularly along the wings. They're not a team that ever had a good width. But they got away with it a lot more last year than they've been getting away with it this year, and it feels like a pretty complacent team, which I think is the most disturbing thing. That they're not winning games is, I didn't think that they were going to be really amazing this year. I thought they were going to do better than they were doing. But, they got really lucky last year. They've been getting pretty unlucky this year. There was an interesting little stat that flashed up on the Chivas game, that said they've hit the post 8 times already, which is more than once a game, which is impressive but doesn't explain why they've been doing so badly. But really, they just seem kind of complacent and disjointed, and I think everybody, all the Timbers faithful, are all wondering like what exactly is going on. And I don't think anybody has. There's some tactical things, there's some personnel things, some new signings who aren't quite fitting in and aren't quite hooking up or providing the link up with the rest of the team that we were all hoping they would. But beyond that, it just seems as if everyone is more or less okay with how the team's been playing. There doesn't seem to be any sense of urgency or drive, and that was, last year they weren't an amazing team, but they played very, very well. Because
they had heart,
So yeah, because everything felt really urgent, and they defended and pressed and were, really intense about the game. That. About the way that Porter had them set up to play. And this year it just seems like everybody's kind of lackadaisical about it, and that's paying its dividends, which are not fun to watch.
So I feel like Portland's still gonna be fine though.
Huh?
Right? I feel like you guys are still gonna be fine.
I think they'll be fine in that they might be able to get it together to make the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to be.
I think they can still compete for a supporter field.
I don't know if that's mathematically possible.
It is. I'm really glad that you said that, because I went through all 18 supporter shield winners because I'm preparing something that I'm writing, and so many of them went through terrible slumps. So like some of the worst. In 2000, Kansas City had a 9-game stretch where they won 1 game and lost 5 and tied 3.
Yeah.
In 2006, DC United ended the season 13 games, only got 11 points from them. That's less than a point a game, kind of like you guys are doing. And in 2009, Columbus started the season 7 games, 0 wins, 5 draws.
Wow. Well, I mean, I never thought that Portland was going to win the Supporters' Shield anyway, so I'm not shocked that they're out. They don't seem to be in pole position for it. But I did think that they would be playing. But I mean, I didn't even think that they were going to come out and like spank a bunch of teams. I did really think they were going to beat Chicago and Chivas at home, which they didn't do.
That is troubling. Well,
Yeah,
Chivas.
the dropping points at home is the biggest thing that stands out.
Well,
yeah.
I've been. No one else has, but I've been. Well, not that's not true. A lot of you guys have. We've been trumpeting Chivas as a team that's better than they look, right? So that isn't the worst possible thing. I mean, they tied Vancouver too.
No, I mean, I don't think it was that they tied Chivas. It's the way they did it and the way that they were defending. I mean, Chivas outshot the Timbers. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they outshot the Timbers at home. They had more shots on goal, and they had more shots total. They also had more possession. It was not a good performance. It was not a possession-oriented performance. They didn't press with any conviction. They didn't keep their defensive shape, and those were all the things that, more than just the result, those are all the things that I found really disturbing about that game.
Yeah, because you guys have like the most epic midfield in MLS. You guys should be able to keep possession.
That's what you would think, yeah. And those are the kinds of things that are really puzzling. I really don't know like what's going on. We have a bad back line. We don't have very much width. But beyond that, it just seems like people aren't linking up. I know some people have said that they wonder if there's like, since we got so many Argentinian players, if there's now like an Argentinian and a clique and then a non-Argentinian clique, and if that's messing up the dressing room chemistry or something like that. I don't know. I will say though that I miss, if not Ryan Johnson, a Ryan Johnson-like presence, because I now understand why Toronto got rid of Max Arudi. He is completely useless. He's the only player on the Timbers that I despise. Like I watch him play and I'm just like, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Why are you playing for my team?
That reminds me of...
He falls over so much for no reason. It's artificial turf. Come on.
That reminds me of
it's like
Leonardo Pajoy for several years for us.
Yeah. Where is he these days?
I don't think he plays soccer anymore.
Oh, good.
Now we've got this new guy. His last name is also Johnson. But
How is he doing? I watched a little of the New York DC game.
I watched a lot of that game. Actually, I watched the whole game.
Dedicated. Are you a supporter of some sort?
Oh, that's ridiculous. No, but he's doing okay. He'll do better.
He seems irritated, which I guess
is
kind of normal for him.
I think that's his like normal state. Yeah, exactly.
Be worried if he's not angry.
Right. Although this one time
it's like the opposite of the Hulk. He's like the opposite of the Hulk. Like you get worried when the Hulk is angry, and then when Eddie Johnson's not angry or annoyed.
The trick is, I'm always okay.
Yeah.
There was one thing that was heartening is that one time he made a bad pass, and he knew that he did, and so he was like, "My bad."
Yeah. I don't think he's as awful a person as everybody makes him out to be. I think he was just annoyed with his, compensation.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some moments, but so there was another thing where when I was watching the game, the commentators who I was getting the New York feed because I was watching on MLS Live, but they were saying like they don't see him being good enough to be getting on the plane for for Brazil, even given his performance for.
That is bullshit.
Really? Okay. Well, you and Shep Messi, and you guys are. You guys can have it out.
Shep Messing says a lot of stupid things. I mean, I actually kind of like him as a commentator because I feel like for some reason goalkeepers, both in hockey and soccer, make pretty good color commentators. Like the Hurricanes, my NHL team, we've got this guy Trip Tracy who used to be a goalie. He was a goalie in one NHL game, and that's it. And he's the good. I mean, he's a little bit crazy, but he's a good color commentator anyway. So there's that. But then he's also a little bit New York Homer, whatever.
Yeah. As you are when you're the commentator for a team. If you only do that team's games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who do you guys have for your commentators?
We have I should know this guy's name because he's been our commentator since the beginning. But it's like I think his name is Dave Johnson.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that's his name, and of course John Harkes does our color. Dave Johnson, commentator. I'm not looking this up on Google.
Yeah, don't do that, because that really undermines the aura of expertise that we seek so hard to promote. I don't know who the Timbers people are now either, but it was John Strong until the middle of last year, and I really miss him because whoever his replacements are not anywhere near as good as he is.
Yeah. Y'all had the best up in Cascadia. Seattle had Arlo White. You guys had John Strong, and now they're off.
Yeah, they're all gone. Yeah, John Strong's doing all the national MLS stuff, and Arlo White's doing the NBC EPL on NBC. Yeah. I heard Arlo White. Every time I hear Arlo White's voice, I still remember having to sit through all these games with my girlfriend and her friends, and listening to him talking about the sheer brilliance of Mauro Rosales. And I don't know. He was just. I don't know why that guy just irks the shit out of me. Mostly because he was just so effusive in his praise for the Sounders, no matter what they were doing.
Yeah.
I have fond memories of Arlo White. The last game I remember him doing of MLS was the playoff game between us and New York that I bring up every chance I get on this podcast.
Yeah. I remember watching a TFC in Seattle game maybe 2-3 years ago, and the TFC broadcast got cut. They couldn't get the feed out into Canada, so as a deal, I guess TSN took Seattle's feed, and we had to watch Seattle's version of the game. I've never been bombarded with so much advertising in my life. Every 5 minutes, it was the official Dunkin' Donuts, the official coffee and donuts of the Seattle Sounders, and it's Subway, the official $5 footlong, and
it's not Dunkin' Donuts, it's Top Pot, which actually are really good. That's the only thing that's got going. But yeah, it's annoying. It's
I couldn't believe it. I'm just wondering it when you guys watch your games. I watch a lot of MLS Live, but the only market I've really realized that happens a lot is in Seattle.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Well, that used to be commonplace.
Those designated players don't buy themselves, boys. Dairy Queen does. No, wait, who was it? It was Tanzania.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Come visit.
Come visit Tanzania.
That used to be the thing of MLS broadcasts, like the national ones on ESPN. It's this portion of the match is brought to you by Budweiser or MasterCard. MasterCard was the big one. That was the one they did every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was also on the back of our jerseys with Sierra Mist. For some reason. I don't know why Sierra Mist was involved and not just whoever owns them, but whatever.
And I understand with certain sponsors, but sometimes certain sponsors don't make sense. If you're selling donuts and coffee at a soccer game, it's doesn't it, kind of, or it's the same thing when I see the Olympics and McDonald's as a sponsor of the food. Yeah. It's really,
Well, would you rather have Dunkin'